3-1 in a series all time. You win Game 5 40% of the time. You win the series 4% of the time. So not good. Next game is Thursday. Is this series over?
I said last week I would never count the Knicks out, this iteration of the Knicks, unless they're down 3-0. That's how much respect I have for their fight, their heart. No. Their fight, their heart, their toughness mentally. Like I'm serious. These
so obviously it's not
I got
over.
major league respect for the Knicks in that regard. That said, Naptown! This baby is over. I think it's going to end in 5. Maybe it'll end in 6. But this one is in the books, all right? And I don't want to hear, Ramsey tried to throw this at me when I was walking in the hall today. I don't want to hear, and I heard it on TV too.
Okay.
If the Knicks if it didn't have a miracle, a basketball miracle didn't happen in Game 1, something we've never seen, Neesmith hitting all these threes, the Knicks, it's 2-2, and the Knicks have home court advantage.
That's not good.
It's not true. First of all, the series, who knows, things are based on how the games before it was played. But secondly, the Knicks essentially, like you said, not as dramatic. They got a game they shouldn't have won in Game 3. So Game 3 evened it out. The Pacers were waxing them in Game 3, and they let up. I think they let up, and the Knicks won that game that they shouldn't have won. So it evened out. It would have been 2-1. All right, I don't want to hear none of that mess. All right, now, the Knicks also, Nick, have a problem in this series. And I think they're getting worn down by the pace. That's why I think Tibbs is playing a lot deeper on his bench. Not just that he wants to, but because he has to, because these dudes are worn out by this pace. But also, their two best players, Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, are struggling on the court together. All right, you got to put them out there. They're your two best players. They're your offense, your two best scorers, but they're also your two worst defenders in the starting lineup. And what happens is now when they're out there, the Pacers have two guys to hunt. Two guys to hunt. Look at this graphic, and this will show you how bad it is. When both of them are on the court in this series, they're being outscored by 18 points a game. When it's just Jalen Brunson, they're outscoring the Pacers by 4.5. When it's only Cat, it's plus 19. I'm not saying bench Brunson or anything. No, I'm just saying this is a problem for the Knicks in this series that I don't think is going to be solved in the next 2 games.
Well, this was, if you remember, this take didn't age well at all, as it turns out. But when the Julius Randle trade happened, I came on and I said, man, I think that could be a lose-lose. And it ends up right now, it looks like it was a win-win for both teams. So I can wear if that's wrong. But my skepticism on the Knicks side of it was, man, oh man, what's the team that we can think of that won 3, much less 4 rounds when their two best players were both just targets on the other end of the court? And it's very, very hard to find any team that fits those qualifications, where the two guys who you always want to have on the court in the final 5 minutes, they are both massive defensive liabilities. Now, I also think Jalen has been worn down a bit. I know Jalen has good numbers. I don't think this has been anything close to his best series. I also do not think the series is over. Obviously, the Pacers are in a very strong position. There is no denying that. I agree with your analysis that if we can't simply say if Game 1 the Knicks had won, Games 2, 3, and 4 would have gone the exact same way. I don't believe that. I also don't think you can be like, well, the Knicks won a weird one and the Pacers won a weird one.
Why not?
Because the Pacers game had literally never happened in the history of the league. We showed you 3 consecutive full screens that Thursday from Indy about how it was 0 in 1,700 and then 0 in 1,400. And the Knicks game, a team coming back from 13 down in the fourth.
Was
This happened
20 down at half or something like
they
20?
trailed 13 at half. They trailed 20 in the first half. But the Knicks had come back from 20 down 4 times this playoffs, just the Knicks.
I get that the probability was different, but it doesn't change the fact that the Knicks lost the game they should have won, and the Pacers lost the game they should have won. I agree it happened much differently.
Right. I mean, one was something we had never seen, and the other was something we've seen a half dozen times this postseason. But regardless, the Pacers have been. I was wrong when I said the Knicks were in control of the series after they won Game 3. The Pacers have, through 4 games, for the lion's share of this series, been the better team. The only game the Knicks looked like the better team for the vast majority was Game 1, and they lost it.
Yeah, that's the
but
point.
I just don't. I think that it is because they are the team with 2 of the games in their building. I think it's silly to say the series is over when I know they haven't been great at home so far this postseason.
They're 3-5 at home.
Like I'm not 3-0 down. I'm ready to say every series, every time I've said this, it's over. 3-1 down when the team up 3-1 is a historic juggernaut like Oklahoma City was a juggernaut this season. I'm ready to say it is officially over. This one is on life support, but I do not think the Knicks are dead because I don't think any of us would be shocked if they win Friday.
Okay, so let's talk about this. I also want to highlight, because I actually have this take about the whole Knicks losing Game 1 and, et cetera, et cetera. And I do think it would be fair to say, now listen, right, the whole idea of the domino effect, butterfly effect, just if you the Knicks won Game 1, then games 2, 3, and 4 would all unfold differently, right? Like, we know that that's the way it works. That's just life, right? So you can't just say, okay, if they won the one game, then it would be 2-2. Because for all you know, that could if the Knicks won Game 1, that could have led to a sweep. All right, not saying it would have, but it could have led to a sweep for the Knicks. But yeah, this is the problem. What I want to highlight more than anything is that this is the problem that you lost Game 1. Because the series is now 3-1, and it needed not be. It really needed not be. And the margin of error is so small here. Like that's how basketball works today. Sometimes there's this illusion because of 7-game series, and because a series could be over in 5, and you can have a 3-1 here, and it makes it feel like the gap is so big, and it's like whatever, it's just one, it was just a game or just this. And in football, sometimes that margin of error can really be highlighted because it's like you missed an extra point and now you lost by 1. And if you make that extra point, the game would have been tied, right? That's how small the margin of error is. And it's just like, and sometimes a game, the margin of error can be so small, but you could still lose by 21. But it's just like the way how football can unfold is that the points can really kind of unravel, and the way you're going to call plays now really changes. You can't run the ball as much, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these margin of errors are so tiny. And the reality is that the Knicks not only kind of lost that game in Game 1 and gave the game away, but you literally needed one of the most mind-blowing hot streaks from the Pacers, where they were just making 3 after 3 after 3, and then an insane shot by Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, like the whole chain of events were just kind of like, oh my gosh, how does that even happen? To compare that to how the Knicks won in Game 3, yeah, the Pacers started turning the ball over, and they got sloppy offensively. But we see every single week, every other day we watch basketball, we see 20-point swings in the NBA. This is not the basketball of the 70s or the 80s or something. Like, this is modern basketball where we see 15, 20-point runs. Like, each team goes on at least one 15-2, 15-0 run. Like, every single game. Playoffs, regular season, like, it's just like this idea that that's something big. I mean, it's just not anymore. It's really not. And yeah, granted, the Pacers really dropped the ball in Game 3 on themselves. It was still more about the Knicks just kind of clawing back and playing high quality basketball, and the Pacers dropping, but they went out and kind of won that game. Whereas in Game 1, again, credit to the Pacers, but if you're relying on just Hail Mary shots And just having a player go making 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 after 3 in the fourth quarter. What did he go? 6 for 6. I mean, you're expecting a non-mega superstar to do something that we've never seen Steph do, MJ do, LeBron do. I mean, like, so, like, you know, like, it's crazy. That's why it was like 0 for 1,400 or whatever it is. And it's not to take away anything from the Pacers. It's really not. The Pacers deserve to win that game at the end of the day, but it definitely felt like the basketball gods were in their favor. When the Knicks won Game 3, it didn't feel like it was because of the basketball gods. It was like, yeah, the Pacers lost focus. Yeah, the Pacers started turning the ball over and having really bad fouls. Yeah, they kind of gave the game away, but also, like, the Knicks easily could have rolled over, and they didn't. So it's a little bit messier of a conversation, and you know the series could be just 2-2. At the very least, you'd have to admit that the series would just feel different, and that's the problem. You know, then you go up, but then in Game 4, you have a historically amazing game from Tyrese Halliburton, right? You have him just being unleashed, and then you know when the margin of error is so small, and you lose a game you're supposed to win, you can't take on the extra hits. You just can't. You can't take on the extra hits. You got to win the games that you are supposed to win. And when you don't, it just becomes too much. And that's how you find yourself in this situation. A 3-1 series could have easily been a 2-2 series, or you being up by 3-1. I mean, how many times have we watched, again, like I think football games probably highlight this a little bit better, but also in basketball, I think even in even this recent playoff games where you have these games going so close, one team, you know, it's a 1-point game, or the losing team is down by 2, but then they go on like a 12-0 run, and then before you know it, the score balloons up, and now it's like a 20-point loss, and it's just like, well, wait a second, we were up by 2, like, and it just like, it feels like then that you were so far apart from one another when you really were that close. But you had a couple missed shots in a row. They had a couple made threes in a row. Boom, 12, 10-point, 12-point swing, and then just like that, it gets out of control. And again, you see that in football. You see it where it's like going into the fourth quarter, you're tied or it's close, and then a fumble here, a being stopped on fourth down there, and before you know it, you just lost by 14, or even more, because now you have an onside kick that then gets run back for a touchdown, and it's like before you know it, it's a blowout, and it's like, well, this game wasn't really a blowout, and so yeah, it's a tough one for Knicks fans, but you know the reality is the Pacers have been kind of playing out of their mind. They really have. They've been playing out of their mind, and I don't even see that this is just like the Knicks dropping the ball, or that they're choking, or this or that. Right now, the Pacers are just playing better. Like that's just the reality. The Pacers are just playing better ball, and even with that said, the series could be 2-2. Like that's the thing. And what's crushing is I know these guys aren't going to give up, and it's 3-1, but they're going to be more defeated playing a game 3-1 than 2-2 or 2-1 on their behavior, on their behalf. Like that's just a fact. That's just a fact. And so it's a tough one. It's a tough one. And that's why I just keep kind of saying the margin of error is just that small. It's just that small. Yeah, it's a tough one. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the New York Knicks? Do you believe that this series is over? Do you think this series would have been different if they ended up winning Game 1? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.